The reason you should start embracing the worst possible outcomes. Honestly, I feel like the quality of your life depends on it. The thing that made this video come about is because I was on the phone with my friend today and we were talking about relationships. We always talk about relationships because I feel like relationships are the best thing ever. And honestly, I think relationships teaches us a lot about who we are, and it's a great, relationships are the greatest teacher. That's what we talked about. And we were just talking about her talking with this guy, and you know, I was asking her what she wanted, and she just kept saying, I don't know, this, that, and the third. But then I asked her what was making her reluctant on expressing how she really feels to the guy. And the thing that she told me was that she doesn't want to get hurt again. That was like her biggest fear. And I think what I told her was that, well, it doesn't really matter what relationship you get in. Like, you could be in the best relationship ever. If you think that that person will never hurt you, that's just not realistic, because we're humans and we make mistakes. The best people in the world can hurt you. You know what I'm saying? I think about your parents. I'm sure your parents have hurt you before. Whoever. It doesn't even have to be in a relationship. Where am I going with this? The whole premise of what I was getting at was just that when we address the worst possible outcome of her situation, it kind of shed light on the simple fact that there's nothing really stopping her from expressing how she really feels. Because, okay, so she gets hurt again. Does she die? No, it'll hurt. But it's not to say that she can't express how she feels, because ultimately she wants to be in a relationship, as most of us do. But by shedding light on the worst possible outcome, it kind of grounded her in reality and allowed her to be honest with what it is that she actually wants out of this bond. Another example of this was me today, literally today. My manager called me, or he texted me, and he was saying he had some news that he wanted to share with me. And instantly I got fear in my heart. And I didn't know what it was because, well, I kind of knew what it was, but I wasn't being honest with what it is that I believe that it was. And the thing that I thought it was that I thought he was gonna fire me. Now, he didn't. He was actually telling me that he was leaving, oddly enough. But when I accepted that the worst possible thing that he could tell me or that could happen in my present reality is that I could be fired, it kind of took it off this pedestal that I was placing it. Because I feel like the more that we give our energy, or we kind of neglect the worst possible outcome subconsciously, we exude the energy that attracts the worst possible outcome. You ever hear the saying where they talk about, like, if you're walking on let's say you're going ice skating, and the only thing you're thinking about is not falling. Not falling. That's all you're thinking about. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. What happens? You fall. You know what I'm saying? But by accepting, like, you know what? If I fall, it's okay. Who cares? It takes it off this pedestal, and now you can actually skate freely because you're okay with falling. And I think that's something that we have to be more comfortable with, is just accepting that sometimes we are going to fall. The worst possible thing can happen. This YouTube channel could flop. I could be stuck at 270, however many subscribers for the next 10 years. That is a possibility. Would that stop me from posting a video tomorrow? No, because ultimately that's not what I do it for. I don't do it for the notoriety. I do it because if I can help at least one person, then I consider it a job well done. And I feel like I've succeeded. But not to make this about me, you as a viewer, I want you to understand that as long as you are being honest with what it is that actually scares you, you can actually start to live a righteous and self-fulfilling life. Because The biggest thing about shedding light on the worst possible outcomes that I've noticed in my life is that the minute that I've accepted the worst possible outcomes, I kind of let go of the attachment to whatever happens, because you start to really understand that there is so much that's out of your control. Like when I put a song out, and in the past I would be like, damn, this song got 1 view or 1 play, and I think it's a flop. But now I've accepted that regardless to what I do, I can only focus on my output. The worst thing that could happen, which honestly isn't really that bad, because I've completely detached from what the numbers are. Now, me putting out a song and it getting no views or no plays, that's the worst possible outcome, you know? But by accepting that that's the worst possible outcome, I see that that's not even like that's not a real problem. Like, that's fixable. And when we shed light on the stuff that scares us the most, we can actually start to come up with solutions and figure out, okay, well, how can I problem solve to better tackle this scenario, you know? Even with my friend, when we were talking about just her whole fear of being hurt, something that I told her that I learned in previous relationships is that, so for me, I used to have this very big fear of getting cheated on. I don't know if I've ever been cheated on. Hopefully I haven't. But it's like, I used to have this fear of being cheated on, and I wasn't honest with that. But in turn, I would get so insecure or defensive about my girlfriend having male friends or what have you, and I would do stuff subconsciously to kind of manipulate her, to let her know that it's not okay to mess with other guys. Or, I'm sorry, obviously not mess with other guys, but have guys in her life because they pose a threat to our relationship. Now, I've finally come to terms with the fact that the only way to overcome that fear is to recognize is that you can't really help getting cheated on. The only thing that you can help is your reaction to getting cheated on. And the thing that I shared with her was that it's not that you can't be afraid of getting hurt, because that's inevitable. The thing that will help you persevere through that fear is the simple fact that even if I get hurt, I know that I'll be okay. And that was kind of the solution that we came up with for her problem, because we shed light on the worst possible outcome, you know? Too much of society likes to play it safe, and we like to neglect all possibilities. We want the best thing to happen, obviously. I want the best for me. I want the best for you as well. But the thing about focusing on the best thing is that if we're not grounding ourselves in reality, when the worst possible outcome comes, we feel so crushed and we feel like, damn, like, what do I do? And we're not prepared for it. And I think that's also something that I'm realizing, even talking about it with you guys, is that you can't really prepare for the worst possible outcomes if you never shed light on it. Like, let's say, you know what I'm saying, you're in a job that you don't like, and you're so afraid of getting fired. If you never accept that you're afraid of getting fired, the day that you get fired, you're gonna be like a fish out of water, wondering like, what the hell do I do? But if you accept that, like, okay, you know what? I could possibly get fired. Now, there is a sense of relief that comes within you, because now you can take the necessary actions that, okay, if I get fired, I'm gonna start applying to jobs. Hell, I could start applying to jobs right now. You know what I'm saying? That's something that I realized. Shedding light on the negative, on the worst possible outcomes, allows me to be prepared for anything and everything. I used to be an optimist. Well, I still am. I consider myself an optimist. However, I consider myself more of a realist as well, where to be overly optimistic about reality could do more harm than good. Now, in certain instances, like when it comes to your dreams and aspirations, yes, be as optimistic as you can be. I don't think that doubt, fear, or anything like that should hinder you from trying to achieve your dreams and goals. However, if you don't shed light on the fact that, you know what, this could possibly not work, you will continue to operate subconsciously. You will continue to operate subconsciously with just like, you know what, this has to work, this has to work, this has to work. And then you have an unhealthy relationship with whatever it is that you're doing. You don't want that. It's not fun, it's stressful. And we don't want to have a stressful life. We want to be stress-free. So, yeah, man. In closing, because we're hovering around the 10-minute mark, the biggest takeaway that I want you to take away from this video is that recognizing the worst possible outcome actually gives you the tools necessary to better prepare for if that were to even come into fruition. And it also takes whatever thing that you were so afraid of off of a pedestal, and you really start to ground yourself in reality so that you are able to look at your life and ask yourself, okay, is this actually my reality? Or is this just a scenario that I'm creating in my head that is causing me eternal suffering? In order for me to not self-sabotage whatever it is that I have in my mind as far as a negative outcome, I have to accept that, you know what, this is a possibility. It can happen, but understanding that whether it happens or not, you will be okay and you will find a solution. That is how you begin to trust yourself a lot more, and you're able to do things righteously and not be afraid of taking that next step, whether that be in your career, relationships, or life. You're able to just do things freely and honestly, and ultimately it will lead you to a much higher quality of life. Okay? If you made it this far in the video, I want to say thank you all so much. My name is Trent Bishop. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Until next time, peace.